It's another Manly Monday, and this Manly Monday we are going to be kind of targeted because I want to talk, like I said, starting last week, I want to start doing things about protecting men. And the first thing we need to talk about, remember I said it in last week's video, of the idea of empowering men to leave relationships with potentially dangerous women early. And we're going to start talking about that. Not getting quite as enmeshed too quickly, and then leaving earlier so that it's, there's less of those really, really nasty fights that can get turned around on men, even though both parties were to play it. And yes, this is a heterosexual relationship dynamic. I'm sure, I know some of it applies to other types of relationships. If you've seen Our Flag Means Death, they scathingly parody, the lesbian relationship where they're always trying to kill each other and then they make up and they're back to killing each other. So it's that sort of reciprocal abuse dynamic. Let's do the help support this channel and get into it. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/Leanna K. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/Leanna K. Starting off with, guys, if you're helping a friend through a tough time. I had this conversation. It's going to be on It's Not Therapy this Thursday. But it was a discussion of how to check in with guys. And if you ask a guy, are you okay? They're going to say yes, even if he isn't. If you ask him, what's bothering you? They will say nothing, even if something is. What are you feeling? Or something where there is more than a yes or no answer will facilitate dialogue better. But you gotta be willing to listen and not try to solve the problem, because these situations we spend a lot of time teaching women how to protect themselves because of, the very gendered stereotype, old school, keep your legs closed until you're married kind of bullshit. And the sort of boys will be boys, men are always the aggressor, all men want is sex, 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 sex thing has left men without skills and supports when they find themselves in a place where they're the ones that need some protecting. And so setting boundaries from the minute you do the first approach in a relationship, if you are the one doing the approaching, of all I can do is ask. And if they say no, all right, next one, right? Not getting so outcome driven that it becomes about a war with yourself regarding approval from women is a very, very, very important thing. One thing I notice reading incel stuff is how much of themselves these guys give away to just women as a construct. Not an individual girl, nothing like that, just women. Women. I want a girlfriend. It's dehumanizing for everyone involved, but it is putting their entire sense of self-worth into the approval of somebody else that you can't control. You can't make someone say yes. Good salespeople are just constantly creating opportunities and targeting the people most likely to say yes. You can only persuade the persuadable. And that's something that all the dating advice out there doesn't deal with. Like, you can't persuade any woman to be interested in you, but also you should not be, for your own sake, pursuing women to prove something. One thing I hear from men a little too often for their own sake, is, well, I just want to date one really attractive woman to prove, all those girls that rejected me in high school wrong or something like that. And that is the wrong reason to do it. If you've got residual trauma from that stuff, it will not be resolved through the approval of another person, no matter how hot she is. You gotta get to a place where that's a bad memory, not an active driver, And that's tough. And if you're not there yet, just make sure that these women you're approaching, these women you're pursuing, you're doing it because you actually like them as an individual. And that means seeing them clearly as well. Number one rule of business, you always got to be prepared to walk away. That is something I learned from, nobody ever told me this, but watching very, very rich people and asking them about, and they're nice enough to tell me, but asking them why they made certain decisions. You don't take the meeting to see what he has to say, but they're going in there not roped in, right? And I found that whenever this is a really great opportunity, you don't want to miss it. All right, if it's a really great opportunity, you don't have to tell me. I'll see it. You'll be able to tell. I'll be able to tell if it's a good opportunity. You don't have to. Okay, thanks. And those are internal boundaries, right? Those are, I'm not going to swing at every pitch. I'm not going to go in seeking an outcome. I'm going to go in open-minded. Big difference. And if you get so and it's tough because when you're really into somebody, when you're in love, it is hard to maintain internal boundaries. It's that you will do anything for this person. And the thing is, they should not ask you to do anything. Mind reading is not romantic. It's abuse. And it's different. I mean, when you know somebody really well, and, like my husband and I have been married for 25 years. We've been together for 27. Certain things, like we finally signed the mortgage paperwork on Friday. Yay. But I knew he was up early for him because he works nights. And he was probably going to get up, not eat breakfast. He was probably going to want to get something to eat after we signed. And he'd probably want me. And he wouldn't do it unless I ate with him because he didn't want to be inconsiderate. So I brought my Invisalign removal thing. And he was kind of touched, and he found it kind of funny that I knew what he was going to do. But that's not mind reading. That's a predictive algorithm. I wouldn't have been disappointed had he gone home. I was just prepared for the option. That's different, right? There shouldn't be right or wrong answers in a relationship. It's, I know this person. I know this is a tendency. I'm not going to make it a foregone conclusion, but this is what this person tends to do. Recognizing that it's not a guarantee. The same. People have their reasons for doing things. If those reasons are violating your boundaries regarding name calling, regarding, you being expected to mind read, because, it's great when I do predict those kind of things, but if I didn't predict correctly, I would not have blamed myself. But, name calling, screaming, if you have a problem with that, different people have different levels of comfort with volume of voices. Throwing things, obviously, breaking things, physical violence, anything like that. The minute you're with a partner who seems to be provoking you, seems to be button pushing, doing things you've told them upset you, and it seems like you getting angry or you getting jealous is a way to prove you care, that's when you start having to protect yourself, because those are the relationships that blow up into these very messy public things. And the way you protect yourself, and this is a tough one for a lot of men, because walking away gets you accused of being a coward. It's not. It is better to remove yourself from a situation than continue to fight and have it escalate into a really ugly place. And if she is constantly, or he, your partner, is constantly unable to cope with your need to cool down, and I'm not talking weeks go by, that's too much. That is stonewalling somebody. I'm talking, I need 20 minutes to cool down, or I need a day or two to get my head together. If they are blowing up your phone every time you need a bit of space, that's not love. That's not them being into you. That's a bad sign. And you gotta go like, look, I care about you. I like you a lot. I have certain things I have to take care of. And when I'm with you, I want to be with you, not on my phone like that stereotypical checked out guy. So I want to get my stuff done so that I can really pay attention to you when when I'm with you. And if they don't give you that space, that is a warning sign. Certain conditions make it harder because they have a fear of abandonment. And sometimes it can just be a straight up fear of abandonment. It can be BPD. It can sometimes be bipolar. It can be PTSD, a lot of things. But that is something. Don't boss them around, but have the conversation. Like, why is it so hard for you to let me have space? And if it's just like, well, you tell me it's going to be a day and then it's 4, that's fair. You got to watch that. Conscientiousness matters a lot in relationships. But just because I love you so much, that's unhealthy. And we got to start teaching men to have the challenging conversations early before too much enmeshment happens. And I recommend before there's any sexual relationship. Sometimes hookups turn into more. That, once there's sex, there's a level of complexity. I'm watching my words very carefully. There's a level of complexity that is very real. So I recommend making sure you at least have some idea of who this person is. See them at less than their best a couple times before jumping into bed with them. I know hormones are a thing, and I know hookups are a thing, and I know, but I don't think it's good. If you're worried about being canceled, if you're worried about false accusations, really getting to know the person before you take that step is the best way to protect yourself from false accusations or twisted stuff. And really having a conversation about, if you have any sense that her, I know it's just sex, is not something if it feels unreliable, restrain. Because those are the ones that, there was an agreement, but then it's, you abused me and you abandoned me. And make sure the person that you're getting involved with is emotionally mature enough and self-aware enough to know that they can have a purely sexual encounter, because a lot of people think they can and then they can't. So that people are wired one way or another. And if you get the sense that somebody is just telling you a bunch of stuff you want to hear because that's the cool thing, that's my big concern with things like the rise of like the normalization of polyamory, is instead of that being something that is equally okay to people who are monogamous and need that physical commitment, too many people in poly communities treat polyamory like an enlightened state of, oh, we just communicate clearly and we don't get jealous. And then, I hear from plenty of people who are poly that they get jealous of their partner's new relationship energy with a third person, right? Like, and that is healthy to an extent. And if that's too much for you, that doesn't make you controlling, that doesn't make you insecure. Sex produces things like oxytocin, which makes you feel bonded to someone. And different people produce different amounts of those chemicals, during and after sex. If you're somebody who doesn't, you get kind of the endorphins and all that stuff, but you don't get the oxytocin production that way, well, you're not going to feel as pro-monogamy as someone who produces a lot more of that stuff. And that is just the way you're wired. That's not something that anybody can control biochemically. And it's okay for you to want just one person. It's okay for you to not. Just be very clear with each other and really get a sense if the person you're interested in understands their own boundaries that way. Because a lot of people don't. A lot of people try the poly thing because they think it's more enlightened and they can't do it, and it just ends up disastrous. And that's why I think we shouldn't say one is better than the other. It should be everything is equally different strokes for different folks. And one has to be valid for both to be. Obviously, both have different pitfalls. But there shouldn't be a pressure to go one way or the other, because, there are also people who just cannot commit to one person. I just know them. They are incapable of it. They freak out. They feel stifled, and then they blow up the relationship. And, so they're sort of serial. They've been married 4, 5, 6 times, and it's great for a bit, and then they cheat, and they do it again, and then they cheat. They marry their mistress, and then they cheat on that mistress. And some people just can't do it. And it's better to accept that and work with it than try to be something you're not. And maybe there is some damage under the hood, but, it's not monogamy if she's jealous even of your friends. It's not. And if they go through your phone, they go through your phone, that is a bad sign. Put a password lock on your phone and make sure they don't get it. Going through your partner's phone, I wouldn't do it without permission. It's a bad idea. The couple times I've seen something like accidentally, I didn't go looking. I know sometimes it looks worse than it is if you're told. If you don't trust your partner and feel the need to be going through their phone, that's a bad sign. That's time for a serious conversation. But boundaries. And if you don't understand what a boundary is, please leave specific questions in the comments. This is something I really want to talk about. Maybe we need to do a workshop on this, but there is a way to protect yourself from false accusations, from cancel culture, from like the worst, but still form connections with people and have a full life. You don't have to hide from relationships just to protect yourself. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. People have. They joined the Discord last week. Welcome. Like and subscribe to this channel if you want to support me while, not having to spend any money. Thanks for watching Manly Mondays.